Hello everybody, welcome. We're going to be going over how I stream, and specifically the types of software I use and the settings I have set in this software. We're going to be going over Streamlabs OBS, which is what I use for my video recording and stuff, and we'll be going over Voicemeeter Potato, which is what I use for my audio. Now we're going to jump back and forth between the two. You don't have to use this software. You don't have to do exactly how I do it, but it's been requested that I do this, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you guys how I stream and how I have my settings and what I'm looking for when I set my streams up. I also use Stream Deck, which I use for my actual interface during when I'm streaming to change different audios, levels, and things of that nature, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get into it. So we're here on the recording stream. This is my main display. This is my 4K display. This is what I use for all my video games. And as you can see, nothing's here, right? Because what I normally have is on my right display is where I usually keep my Streamlabs, and on my left display I keep all my information that I want to use for whatever game I'm playing, whether it be a flight simulator or whatever. So I'm going to grab Streamlabs. I'm going to bring it onto the main display. When I do this, it's going to make really funny like duplicates of the same screen, as you'll see here. So now you can see multiple duplicates of the same screen going all the way down. So fun times. So basically, whenever you start up Streamlabs, it's going to ask you a couple questions, basically log in, create an account, that kind of a thing. And when you do that, you end up connecting to one of these streaming platforms you're playing the stream to, whether that be Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, what have you. Those are built in where you can just log into that account straight in Streamlabs. You don't have to do any type of RTP streaming or anything like that. If you're using Restream, that's a different thing. You're going to have to use RTMP streaming, which I'll show you how to do that here momentarily. So inside of the stream, I have a couple different profiles set up. I have one that says ATC, one that says Twitch, one that says YouTube. Twitch is when I used to stream on Twitch. I don't stream there anymore. But ATC, this is when I'm functioning as air traffic control. On VATSIM, I use this particular profile or scene, so to speak, because it's different. But most of what I use is here in YouTube. Now, you don't have to create multiple ones. I just use it because I do a wide variety of stuff. But we'll just stay here on YouTube for now. So obviously you have pre-stream, which you're seeing now. You have the countdown timer. You have the main. Hello. You have a standby screen. I have an ending screen, which is basically just showing the screen without me on it. Post-stream, which you see here. And then, of course, you have your recording screen, which I have. And then I have a blank, which blanks out everything. So we'll start, and we'll go from basically left to right on what I'm doing here. So you'll see that on the left-hand side, you have a bunch of icons down here. Now, they mean different things. This is the Prime button. Don't have to worry about that. It's like you can get some benefits or whatever. Dashboard, the case of the Streamlabs dashboard. CloudBot takes you directly to the CloudBot interface. Layout editor, so you can actually change the way your layout's set. I'm totally fine with the way this is. Studio mode. So here's the benefit of studio mode. If I hit studio mode, that's pretty cool looking. You get two screens. You have this screen and this screen. And what you're basically allowing to do is you can do transitions. So I could go up here and go main, and then I can transition it over. See that? So you have what you can edit, you can move stuff around and do whatever on this side. And then whenever you're ready, you can just transition it over to the live side. So there's a benefit there. I do that whenever I have to do any changes to live time, usually. Sometimes I just say screw it and do it anyway. I normally keep it in this mode just because I usually like to have, you can't see it now, but your actual chat comes right here, and I like to drag that out so I can see it better. And I still want to see my screen pretty good. So that's what I do there. Also, you have a help button. I've never used it, but there it is. And then settings. So this is the big one, right? So this is the big one. So here's your settings box. I'm going to go ahead and make this big here. You have a bunch of different settings on the left-hand side. I don't change much about the default. There's a few things that I do change. First thing I do is I automatically record when I'm streaming. and then I keep recording when the stream stops. And the reason why I do that is if I, for some reason, run into a problem while I'm streaming, whether the internet goes out or something like that, I'm still recording, and I can use that and upload it later. It also allows me to, right after the stream's done, go ahead and jump over on the Rumble and upload there as well. So that's why I do automatic recording. If you're just streaming and you're not going to plan on uploading it later or anything like that, then recording is just going to take up memory on your computer. Most of my streams between 8 to 10 gigs per stream, so keep that into account. All right, next is the stream button. So here's where you can link and unlink, connect, log in, and so forth, your different accounts. You can also do a custom ingest, right? Custom ingest is basically where you can directly stream to another provider, say Rumble or Restream or something like that. That's where the stream to custom ingest comes. It's giving us, hey, you should probably use default. So here you can see different options for a bunch of different, things that you can use. That there's some defaults in here that you can automatically grab, and then it's going to, obviously you have like stream keys and stuff like that. So we're going to keep it here because this is what I use. If you want more to know about RTMP streaming, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can learn on that. But anyway, so that's how that is. Output. So this is pretty important. On your output, right now it's not going to let me change anything because I'm actually recording, but you have the option of recording more than one audio track. I don't, or streaming more than one audio track. I only stream one out. There's different benefits to doing more than one. I only stream out one. Your encoder, this is going to be based off your system, but if you have any type of quality GPU at all, then you're going to want to do a hardware NVNC encoding, which actually puts all the encoding onto your actual GPU rather than your CPU, which saves your CPU's butt because normally it's going to take between 10 to 30% of your CPU if you're streaming out on your CPU. So I recommend doing the hardware encoding if you can. In the bit rates, oh man, there's so much talk about, oh, you should use this bit rate, oh, you can use this bit rate, oh, you can use this bit rate, blah, 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 blah. Listen, it's based off your internet speeds, how much quality you can push out. So I know I could probably do a bit rate of 12,000 and probably stream out in 4K. I know I have the bandwidth to do it, but I also don't want to worry about other people having issues with the bit rates. There's a whole bunch of conversion stuff that happens with YouTube and Facebook and whatever else you're streaming to. I won't get into all of it. I have found a good bit rate for just 1080p, 60 frames per second is about 8,000. Now you can do 1080p, 60 frames per second at lower than that. You can do it at 5,000. You can even do it as low as 4,000. But I don't recommend that. You start having degradation of your video. So I recommend if you're going to do full HD 1080p 60 frames per second, I would say a bitrate at least 7,000, recommended 8,000. If you go lower than that, I would lower your screen size to 720p or something like that. 60 frames per second is fine, but just, you're going to have to adjust that. You also have the option of CBR or VBR. CBR is constant bitrate, VBR is variable bitrate. VBR is nice if you have bursty data. Let's say your internet is poor and you jump between 3,000 bits per second and 5,000 bits per second upload, but it jumps back and forth because you have a poor internet provider. Variable bit rate might be the option for you to allow you to adjust your quality as you go. Because I know consistently I have between 20 and 25 megabits per second up, which is 20 to 25,000 bits per second up. I know that I can just keep it at 8,000 and it's going to be constant. I'm never going to have it drop. I basically have 0 frames drop nowadays. If I have any, it's because something's happening on my computer that causes my GPU or CPU to lock up a little bit. Keyframe interval, 0, leave it auto. Trust me, you don't want to mess with that. That's getting into stuff that really is advanced. Preset, you do have the option for presets for quality, high quality, so forth, blah, blah, blah. I use quality. You can adjust that. if you want to. So here's the only thing I would say besides all this is the GPU here. If you have a computer that has more than one GPU, so you have two GPUs, let's say you have you have two 3060s or a 3060 and a 2060 or something like that operating on your computer, and you have a full ATX board with multiple PCI 3.0 or 4.0 ports and whatever. GPUs, this is basically you can assign your GPU. So you could say GPU 0 is what all your gaming is going to be on. That's your 3070 Ti or 3080. But your 2060, which is your old graphics card that you also plugged into your motherboard, and I'm not going to get into configuring all that, but so you have it set that way. You can set your streaming to be on GPU number 1, right? So it starts at 0, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and so however many you have. So you could actually have your encoding completely separate on its own separate GPU, so it's not bogging down the GPU being used by your game. So that's a little tidbit of information there. Recording, I have it set to a M.2 SSD that I have, so it's no latency there. It's super fast, totally fine there. Standard is what I have. The type is basically you can do advanced or standard. I'm standard. I use MP4 format for my recordings. You can do .mov. You could do, I think, even .flash. Don't recommend that at all, but .mov or .mp4 will be fine. Audio tracks. So you have the option where you can actually record more than one audio track. Benefit of more than one audio track, and we'll get into the audios in a moment. Benefit of more than one audio track allows you to basically record your voice separate from the game. And let's say that when you streamed or whatever, or you're recording and the volume, you didn't mix it right and the game's too loud or whatever. In post, when you're editing, you can actually change it because it gives a separate audio track. So there's a benefit when you're recording to do two audio tracks. I have one because I've got everything balanced on my end, which I'll show you here in a moment with Voicemeeter Potato. We'll get into that. But this is a cool option for you guys who don't have a bunch of options. You're not very familiar with audio mixing or anything like that. I've been doing it for over a decade, so I'm very familiar. But if you're not, then this is a good option that you can adjust in post. Recording, again, hardware recording, constant bitrate, 8,000, max quality, all that. Audio options. This is where you can change your bit rates per audio track. I keep it 160. Replay buffer, you can enable a replay. So I have a replay set where I can do 20 seconds, like something crazy happens. And, I just tumble out of the sky and blow up in midair or something crazy. I can replay that up to 20 seconds back. So there's a little option there. You can increase this, but just know that the more you increase it, the more memory you're going to be using because it stores that in your RAM. So keep that in mind. Audio settings, sample rate, 48 kilohertz, perfectly fine. You can go higher than that if you want, lower than that if you want. 48 kilohertz works just fine. Channels, I always do stereo because most headphones are stereo. So I don't recommend mono unless that's all you got, but stereo, it works great. Desktop audio devices, mic audio devices. So desktop, I have my input for my desktop. We'll get into that with Voicemeeter Potato. But then I also have mic input. It's also my mic output. And that sounds confusing. We'll talk about that once we get over to the Voicemeeter Potato. Okay, video. So this is your resolution. So my base canvas is 380/40 times 2160, which is standard 4K. And my output right now is the same. Normally when I'm streaming, I drop this down to 1920 by 1080. But because I'm recording, I know that I could do this. So I bumped it up so we have a good 4K recording. Bicubic sharpened scaling 16 samples, that's fine. You don't want to really touch that, no reason to touch that. 60 FPS is what I use. Industry standard for most things are 59.94, but common FPS is 60, right? So just FYI on that. Hotkeys, you can set up hotkeys if you want. Advanced, so one thing I would say is process priority. This is a big thing. It's set to normal by default. I would put it above normal or something like that. That basically says, hey, the priority of this data being processed is above normal. which means that, let's say you have a browser open or something like that. That browser is normal, so it doesn't have priority over your streaming encoder. Okay, color format, all this, leave it. Don't touch it. Monitoring device, this is basically what your headphones are going to be. Again, we'll go over Voicemeeter in a moment, but this is, if you just have headphones plugged in, you'll want to change this to headphones or speakers or whatever. Replay buffer, I don't really touch that. Stream delay, you can do a stream delay if you want. I don't do stream delays. Automatically reconnect, you want to keep that the same. You do have the option to bind IPs and do all this kind of stuff. For most people, don't worry about it. Leave it as it is. You're going to be fine. Okay. Scene collections, again, not really going to worry about this. Notifications, also not really going to worry about this. Appearance, I always use night theme. You have the option to do day. I use night. Okay. Chat text size, this allows you to change the chat text size. Remote control, you can control Streamlabs from your phone. That's super useful if you are someone who only has one monitor. If you only have one monitor, use it. Use this. Get Streamlabs mobile app, scan the QR code, and boom, you're good to go. So there you go. Webcam, you can have a virtual webcam. Don't worry about this. Virtual webcams are basically allows you to display this into Skype or Zoom or something like that. Game overlay, I'm not going to enable game overlay. This is something that's built out of Streamlabs that overlays onto your game. Not going to worry about it. Okay, so that's the general overview of settings. We're going to go and exit out of settings here. So now you've kind of gone over that. We'll go over, obviously we've gone over this right here. We also have sources. Sources are your bread and butter of what's in the image that you're seeing now. For example, if I go to recording, you'll notice I have GH5, which is my actual Panasonic GH5. It's my camera I use for all my wedding videography. It shoots 4K. It's a great camera. Beautiful pictures, beautiful video. I can use that. I can actually plug it in via a Elgato capture card that I have on my desktop. I can plug it in via HDMI and use that as my webcam. I normally don't because I have to set it all up and all this kind of other stuff. And anyway, but I have that option set if I want to do some type of more high quality video of me. Video capture device. So this would be specifically my webcam. So if I pump this up, oh, there I am. So that's what that is. Display capture. You're seeing it now. And then I have X-Plane 11 because normally when I'm recording X-Plane 11. Now, if I go to my main, you'll see I have a lot more going on here. So I have my jar, which is my tip jar over here, my donate text, which is up here, my alert box, which you can't see unless something happens like subscribers or something. Chat box is over there. Donation goal is up there on top. Hint, hint. ATC. So this actually, and we'll get into this, this is, if you see a little microphone icon, that is actually audio. So ATC music, camcorder, that I honestly don't even need anymore. It's old. Live tracker, that's what you see here on the bottom. This thing right here, this is my live tracker. So it actually, it's tracking my flight there. Video capture device, it's my webcam. And cam background. So if I get rid of my video capture device, you'll see this gray background. I use that to kind of offset my camera from the backdrop or the video. And then display capture. I just use display capture for all my games on this screen. You can use game capture. I've had problems with game capture with X-Plane 11 and other things. So I recommend display capture and just capturing your display you're going to be using. The risk of that is if you minimize your game or something like that, all your stuff on your desktop is going to be shown. So just FYI, or whatever you have up, don't have anything bad up, just FYI, okay? But that's what I use. Standby. So I use Photoshop for all my graphics. This is what I've learned to do graphics on. That's how I've done it. Standby, of course, is standby. I'll be right back. Text cover. This is actually like an image. So if I hide it, it just goes away. Now this background motion I created myself in After Effects. You can create your own, or you can buy some, or whatever you want to do. Just kind of gives some motion to it to let people know that their screen's not frozen, right? Again, ATC audio's here. Ending, again, we've already covered that. Post stream, this is some credits. Now, interesting thing about these credits here is actually pulling it from a text file. And do that, you open the properties here, and you can actually do it from a text file, and it pulls it. So pretty cool thing that you can do there for those supporters and stuff. You just go and edit the text document, and it updates in all of your different stream settings. Like I have YouTube, ATC, and so forth. It updates in all of them just by changing that one text document. All right, so that's kind of how I have things set up. Now, I could go into individual things with like this and this and this and this, and how I set up this and how I set up that in regards to, how to edit the text and how to do all the alerts and stuff like that. Honestly, that would be like a 2-hour-long video to go into all of that, but it's not that hard, not that difficult. There's instructions on how to do all of that with Streamlabs through the dashboard. Bring that up over here. So here's what the dashboard looks like. It's in Streamlabs itself, like the website, and you have all these options over here. So anyway, well, let's get into the mixer. Fun times. All right, audio. Audio seems to be the biggest problem with streamers, even popular streamers. I actually was watching one today. I was going, oh man, he needs to mix his audio, and it's way too quiet. So, and I'll show it over on Voicemeeter Potato, but I'll mention it here as well. On your mixer, notice that when I'm talking my microphone, I'm shooting right here in the yellow, and if I talk really loud, I peak right there into the bottom of the red, right there. But notice I don't get any louder than that, no matter how much I yell. So that's actually a compressor we'll get into on Voicemeeter Potato, helping keep that like that. But that's where you want your levels to be. You want it right there at the tip of the yellow. You want it to regularly kind of stay right there in the yellow. That is a good volume level. So if I had it way down here, you can tell that I've just lost some of my my vocals, right? Or if I had it way up here, I might end up, well, thanks to my compressor, I'm not going to peak out. But if I get rid of my compressor, let's get rid of that. Now I'm peaking out pretty bad. So let's add that back in. All right, and we'll get into compressors here in a moment. We'll bring this back down. Where did I have it? Where did I have it? Where did I have it? Right about somewhere right there. So you can add a bunch of different stuff inside of this as well. If you hit the little gear icon and go to filters and edit filters, you have the option to add a bunch of different filters in here. You can do noise gates, compressors, you can do limiters, expanders, noise suppression, all kind of stuff. Feel free to play around with that. I don't use any of that in Streamlabs because I do all of that over on Voicemeeter Banana. But we'll get into that in a second. Voicemeeter Banana, or Voicemeeter Potato, which is what I use, is a fabulous program. It's complicated, though. All right, so obviously I have other different audio levels here. I have PC, ATC, and music. And we'll get into how I have all 4 of those set up through Voicemeeter as well. But if I enable these, my PC I have set to a certain level. I have ATC set to a certain level, about the same. Notice that. This actually probably needs to go down just a tad right there. And then music is set to about -10. Okay. And this is -10 decibels. So each one of these has benefits of how you with the levels, and you've got to play around with it to get it perfect, depending on the audio coming into the program and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that I do recommend is that you break it down as much as you can so you can adjust each individual thing without having to go into each individual program and adjusting the volumes, because then you're getting into, it's going to sound different in this game, different in that game, and it just, starts getting a little complex. So how I added all of these, by default, you're going to get 2. You're going to get mic and you're going to get main or PC is what you're going to get. How do I get ATC and music? Well, I added it into my sources, hence the ATC and music, and that added it into my right-hand side mixer. So if you want to add more than one, you can add it in your sources and bring it over here, and it'll show up in your mixer. Now, when you are setting up your audio, I do recommend using a noise gate. That helps prevent excess outside noises from coming in when you're not talking. So when I stop talking, silence, right? But when I'm talking, it actually allows me to talk. And you mess with your gate, and we'll talk about that in Voicemeeter Potato again, because that's where I do it. But you can also do it here in Streamlabs. Compressors are great. Just add a little bit of compressor. I'm talking, I use 1, like 1.0 is what I use, and I'll show that over in Voicemeeter Potato, but 1.0, you can do from 0 to, I don't know, 10, I think. So I use a very little bit of a compressor, and that's just enough to keep my voice from being too low or too high. A compressor basically takes the waves, right? So you have the waves of your audio, and it takes those waves and compresses them. There's a benefit to that. The benefit to that is that you don't have it peak and it doesn't get too low. The problem is you lose some of those highs and you lose some of those lows if you do it too much. If you do it too much, it's going to sound like, okay, instead of your actual vocals. So just be careful with using a compressor, just a little bit, just a little bit. All right. So we've kind of gone over that. We've gone over all of this. Let's bring over Voicemeeter Potato and cover that. So we'll go back to record here, get this off the screen. Let's bring over Voicemeeter Potato. So it looks complex. I know it does, and it is complex. I recommend starting with Voicemeeter Banana. It's a free program, Voicemeeter Banana. Very similar. You lose a couple things, but it's very similar. So I have mine set up to, I have a Rode microphone connected. This is where I do all of my vocals. Okay. So this is set up in 1. I have my ATC set up in 2. And then I don't have 3 other hardware inputs. Now this is a virtual hardware input. It's not an actual hardware input, but that's the benefit of Voicemeeter Potato. It has this virtual hardware connection, which gives me that extra, that 4th input, so to speak. I also have 3 auxiliaries sitting right here. So these are your actual virtual inputs, so to speak. So this gives me the ability to separate comms. So Discord, TeamSpeak, all of that comes right here. PC, so this is like all my actual audio from my PC, whether it be games or something like that. And then music. So all my music comes through this right here. And you can set each one of these. Now this one says Voicemeeter VAO, this one's Voicemeeter aux, and VAO 3. Whenever you're setting your inputs and stuff, you can actually set each individual program to go to each one of these. I'll show you how to do that in the Windows stuff just in a second. Obviously, you can do it in the programs themselves as well. So like TeamSpeak, you can go in there and change it to where it outputs to Voicemeeter VAO or Voicemeeter aux, however you want to set it up. Let's talk about the compressor and the gate. I mentioned it earlier, compressor. I have it set to 1. Gate I have it set to 5. If I get rid of this gate, it's never going to stop. So you'll be able to hear me, for example, let's type on my keyboard real fast. Right, you could hear that. But if I bring this all the way up to 5, if it'll let me, come on. There we go. Let it die off. I'm typing on my keyboard right now. So that gate helps negate some of those sounds in the background. Okay, so that's why I have that up set. You could do a bunch of stuff. You can change your how you sound from all different types of, kind of things as well. You have the option to change your modulation. You can change it all over the place if you wanted to, but I usually keep it right in the center just fine. You can also change the way how you sound, what direction you're coming from. That's also an option as well. But again, leaving it pretty much right in the center just fine. You can also do equalization on these. There's a whole special effects and external effects stuff that you can do, past, post, do all kind of stuff. I don't touch any of that because I like the natural sound of things. I don't think I need to adjust it a bunch, but you can do EQs. So these little buttons right here, these allow you to send it to whatever outputs you want, right? So you have a master section over here, and you have A1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you have B1, 2, and 3. So this is your virtual outputs, okay? So this is what you're actually working with. This is your physical. So this A1, this is my headphones, right? You could have more than one. You could say you could have headphones, you could have speakers, and each one would have their own outputs. These are physical outputs. This is virtual outputs. So my own voice doesn't go to my headphones because then it starts making me talk funny. Oh man, I sound awful. I didn't, oh no. There we go. That's better. Okay. So I'm sorry about that. I had those activated still. See, now I'm starting to talk, but I can't do it. I can't do it. So yeah, so just be aware of those. I should have realized that. So I can't hear myself. So there's benefit to that. I don't start talking funny, but there's negative to that. I also don't know when I'm jacked up, right? So pluses and minuses to everything. A2 would, again, let's say I had speakers, it would send it to my speakers. So B1 and 2, that's your virtual. And notice I have voice, PC, and music set here. I have set to my voice. Notice that you couldn't hear me when I deselected B1 because that's what I have set to this guy right here. So now you're starting to see the connection here. B1 goes to my microphone in Streamlabs. B2 is my PC vocal. So it's like what the noise you hear right there, right? And then music, of course, music. And that all is going to the PC and the mixer in Streamlabs, and the music goes to the music in Streamlabs. ATC is this virtual one right here, and it gets pulled virtually. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you connect it. So it basically, it leaps and bounds. Now here, this is where you adjust, you can adjust each individual program's information. Notice that it's all sending to the appropriate channels that I want it to send to. Right, so I want the comms coming from Discord and TeamSpeak to go to the PC on the mixer in Streamlabs. I want the music to go to the music in Streamlabs. That's hence why it's in B3, and these two are in B2. Right, so this is where you're pulling all of your audio from all of your programs, whether it be games or Discord or TeamSpeak or what have you. Then this is what you're actually outputting. Now, again, there's 1,000 different things that you can do with this program. You can do an EQ. If I go here and click EQ, right, so I have an EQ that's randomly set in here. I can deselect it, means no EQ. I select it, and now there's an EQ. And you can go in here and you can mess with all kind of stuff, however you want to do it, right? Up to you. Right, up to you how you want to do it. This program has 1,000 things I don't even touch because I don't need it for what I'm doing. But it allows me to expand and keep going and work and do more and so forth and so on. So great program. The Potato version you have to buy, I think, or you don't have to buy it, but it keeps doing like, hey, you need to buy it. Hey, you need to buy it. This evaluation, like over and every single time. It's annoying. I think like every 4 hours it pops up or something. So I just went ahead and gave money and said, yeah, I'll buy it because I use it all the time anyway. I should reward the guy who's taken the time to program this. But Voicemeeter Banana is also free. You can use that too. Okay, so that's what I use for my audio. We'll bring this back. So Streamlabs is what I use for that. And then audio, I use that. And then, of course, I mentioned Stream Deck. Stream Deck's pretty simple. Comes if you buy it, it comes with the software. You install the software, yada yada, and allows you to set up different types of buttons. where you can actually, have different text, for example, that you can push, for different messages on your chat, different scenes that are tied into Streamlabs, hence the Streamlabs OBS here, and you can tie in different stuff. You can multi-action things. I mean, that's a great little program. Definitely recommend it if you're like streaming all the time. It's been fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Okay, so that's kind of how I do my streaming. There's a lot more to it, but in general, that's kind of how I do it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them in the comments down below, and I'll try to do my best to answer them. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll see you guys back probably in 2022. Man, this year has flown by. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon down below. And if you can, I do have a donate capability at streamlabs.com/MicahMaster1. I could use your help to get a GTX 3070 Ti so I can do Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 more frequently and without all the bumps and bruises of frame loss that I've been having. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this awesome community. I'll see you guys next time. Open the sky.